all of you before I start my speech. When I got the idea to make this speech, I thought a lot about the implications it would have, what assumptions people would make. I was worried that because of what I'm speaking about, people would make the mistake of assuming that I'm gay even though I'm not. I shouldn't have to worry about people making that assumption. I shouldn't have to worry about what backlash and bullying could come as a result of this. But I do worry. And for that reason, I think it's even more necessary to make this speech, to rid the community of RSGC of that fear. 2 weeks ago, I walked into the washroom outside Mr. Shum's classroom, and on the wall, someone had written about another classmate, "You're gay, and we get it, you have a man crush, and you're not fooling anyone." They'd written it as a joke. I decided that there were 3 reactions I could have to this. I could laugh it off like the person who wrote it had intended. I could be upset about it, but not do anything because it was meant as a joke. Or I could do something about it. But what could I do? Telling a teacher wasn't going to do anything because there was no way to know who wrote it. So I decided to make a speech here in chapel and raise the issue in front of everyone. I want you all to think of a secret. Something nobody except maybe your closest friend knows about you. I want you to think about how you'd feel if everyone in the school knew about it. Think about how, even if it wasn't true, and somebody made it up and started a rumor about it as a practical joke, think about how excluded you'd feel. Imagine if that secret was that you were a closeted gay or bi or questioning student at RSGC. Imagine if you had walked into that washroom and saw those things written on the wall. Suddenly, it would be that much more difficult to come out. You'd be reminded that some people at our school still see someone being gay as abnormal and wrong. The fear of, will people still like me? And will I still have friends if I come out has intensified drastically. We all ask ourselves similar what-if questions when we decide how to act, what to wear to parties, and who to hang out with at school and on the weekends. But a gay student at RSGC has to ask themselves those questions before doing anything because they're afraid of what people will think if everyone knows who they really are. They can't be themselves. It's not just this one incident in the washroom either. Ever since I came to RSGC 3 years ago in grade 9, I've been amazed at how accepting everyone is here. Unlike my old school, I can be myself here without being bullied on an almost daily basis. At RSGC, we all do a great job of accepting everyone and making sure no one feels left out or victimized. But this is only true some of the time. Sometimes we make a mistake. We forget about the implications of our actions and we do something or say something without thinking, and we hurt someone in the process. Back in 2009, when I was in grade 7, I was a big fan of American Idol. I still am, but that season was the season of Adam Lambert. As my family and I watched each episode together, it was clear to us that Adam was by far the most deserving person to win the competition. We would buy his performances week after week on iTunes, and after he finished second and released his first album, we bought that too. At the time, the students at the school I went to were not very accepting. It was okay for a girl to like the music of Adam Lambert, but not a guy. If a guy listened to Adam's music, he was shunned and ridiculed, so I kept it a secret. Jump forward 2 years and I'm in grade 9, starting at RSGC. There were signs around the school for the GSA, and there were people at the school who were open about their sexuality, and they weren't discriminated against for it. It was the first time I had seen something like that, and I was happy to see it. When I got my computer from IT, I went home and loaded my music and photos onto it from my computer at home and brought it to school the next day, unafraid of what anyone thought. Then in maybe my 3rd or 4th art class of the year, I opened my computer to listen to music. As you know, iTunes sorts the music alphabetically by artist, so between a few AC/DC songs and above my somewhat massive collection of Bruce Springsteen was music by Adam Lambert. The person sitting next to me looked over at my computer and said, "You have music by Adam Lambert? Wow, I would never be that brave." I didn't know what to say. This school was the most accepting place I'd ever seen, and yet it was still considered brave to have music by an openly gay pop star on my computer. I decided to shrug it off, and another year went by without anyone saying anything. Then, last year in grade 10 math, we had the last half hour or so of class to do our homework, and I had my laptop open to listen to music. When I left class, I found out someone had noticed my library in the shared section of iTunes on their computer, and I decided to see what music I had. Suddenly I had people coming up to me and making fun of me for listening to music by Adam Lambert, telling me it was wrong because he is so gay. I'm not saying all this to lecture you. I'm not saying it to make you feel bad about yourself for what you may have said or written. I just want to make sure you understand that words can hurt. The word gay is not synonymous with bad or wrong. Even if it's not your intention for it to sound that way, that's how it comes across. We all need to do our part at this school to make sure everyone feels accepted and comfortable in who they are. If you see someone being bullied in the hallways for any reason, stand up for them. If your friends are talking about someone behind their back, tell them to stop. And the next time you hear someone dismiss something as being gay, tell them to use a different word. You can also come to GSA meetings. Hopefully, by standing up for what's right and showing support for others, we'll make our school a place where everyone can be himself, because that's what's important. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to Jack for his outrage, for his caring, and for his courage to speak. I felt compelled to speak today because I didn't want it to feel like one of those anti-bullying public service announcements or a really cliche episode of Glee. But I felt, as one might say, a great disturbance in the force. And I thought I would share, as one of the only openly gay members of our community, what it's like to grow up gay. So I'm going to take you a long time ago, in a school not so far away. It was the 80s. It was a time before the internet. There were no cell phones. MTV itself was brand new. Skinny jeans were in for the first time. Michael Jackson was still black. Madonna was still relevant. Nintendo had yet to come out. Neither had I. I was at Northern Secondary. I was 14. I weighed 105 pounds. I was about 5 foot tall. And it felt awkward. Kind of like that, you know when you have those videos that you watch maybe at a different school for health when they talk about finding hair where you never had before? That kind of awkward feeling. But eventually I realized who I was, and I realized I was different. And it was scary. But once you figure out who you are, it gets better. But then you have to find someone that you can trust, someone who would support you. And that felt kind of like finding platform 9 3/4, being a bubble. It wasn't easy, but I did have friends who would support me. I did have friends with whom I could share. And we would sit on the lawn at the front. I don't know if you know Northern has a vast lawn at Eglinton and Mount Pleasant. And we'd sit there, and our chats wouldn't be about what it's like being gay, what it's like being straight, what it's like when our parents don't understand us. It was about which Clash song or Depeche Mode or U2 song would best fit the last 4 minutes on your mixtape because you're running out of space. It felt like the Breakfast Club. I don't know if you've seen the movie. But it was a place to call home. Home, of course, was different. I came out to my mom. She cried. I don't know if you've ever seen your parents cry. And not the kind of cry when you break something, not the kind of cry when you hurt yourself, but the kind of cry when they're actually disappointed in who you are. It was devastating. But she came around. She thought first it was a phase, like cargo pants or hipsters. But you don't get to love a la carte. It's not a menu. You don't get to love bits and pieces of someone, and only those pieces that you approve of. She, by the way, spends more time shopping for my partner at Christmas than for me now. But it's been a long journey. I walked in my first Pride March when I was 15. It was still called a march back then. It didn't have the glitter and glam dubstep of the parade it does now. And I worried a lot marching in the parade if maybe my picture would show up. Of course, not on phase 2, but on a paper or something like that. And I worried maybe if I walked around the corner that someone from school might see me there. And I also worried if around the next corner would be yet another person who decided to hold up a sign that AIDS was God's cure. The whistles that we have at Pride, sure they're there for dancing to rhythm, but they were handed out so that you could sound the alert if people were coming around to beat up gays, to beat up an old man simply for walking home with flowers. We evolved, though. Our society's changed. And this bride, I don't worry about whether I'm seen or not. I simply worry about my park. My nephew knows Ellen DeGeneres is a lesbian, but cares more that she's Dory from Finding Nemo. No one really seems to care that Sheldon Cooper or Barney Stinson are played by gay actors. They're just lovable misfits, and we adore them for who they are. And fans of Modern Family will know that you can feel the love of Lily's two dads, just like kids in our community here, with two moms and two dads, are equally, if not more, loved. Of course, this is a pop culture. When you look at something more poignant, I look at something that happened barely a month ago. Just a few steps from where Martin Luther King spoke, where he once shared his dream of the day where people would be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. America's first black president said that journey would not be complete if our gay brothers and sisters were not also equal under law. Equal under law. And equal can be different. When I came to RSGC, I was already at a school where there were gay students, where there were gay teachers. I worried a lot about coming here to an all-boys school where I would be the gay teacher, as opposed to a teacher who is gay. But I share with you now a lot of gratitude that I have for people who made me feel comfortable being here and being part of the community. These are the people. Mr. Darvazi, for when we were shopping together in India, he was trying on clothes. He said, "Which do you think would look better?" I said, "I think that one." And then I noticed, I said, "Paul, I think they think we're together." And he said, "I could do worse." Ms. Lacroix, who invited myself on a date to her wedding and made sure that I got a chance to dance with the bride and with the groom. Mr. Dirksen and Mrs. Dirksen, who every season always makes sure that there's enough cookies for me and my partner Tom. Mr. Donnelly, who was masculine enough to admit in China that he enjoyed shopping far more than I did. Of course, these are just a few of my colleagues. The names begin with these. Students, however, do the most for me in terms of making me feel at home. My grade 9s care more about the fact that I don't have an Xbox than the fact that I don't have a wife. And Thad Crooks and Matt Raymond, I thank them for pointing out to me that it takes more to be a man like Frank Ocean and Macklemore, who fight against hate, than it does to be an artist like Chris Brown. I thank all of you who care more about the way I teach than the way I love. I thank Ms. Kay, Ian Bryant, Otis, Leo, lots of boys, Rick Mercer, Brian Burke, who've all helped and nourished the GSA, so that we've grown from a group of 10 at one school to a group of 50, with gay kids, bi kids, mostly straight kids, from ESS, Crescent, UCC, Branson, St. Clements, who all come out to GSA because we actually share far more in common than we do apart and distinct. I came out 25 years ago. I couldn't tell you what my life would be like if I hadn't, but if there's any of you who are questioning or unsure of the label, I can tell you I understand. It can be scary. Only you can decide when you're ready, but you're not alone. You will be loved. And to guys, or maybe the one guy, who still clings to the antiquated expression, "that's so gay," it's not funny. It's not just jokes. I'm gay. It's not okay when you use who I am as an insult. I want to thank all of you who I hope will be like Jack and have the courage to stand up and not stand by. We are well past the tipping point. We've moved beyond homophobia. We've evolved. So if you're ever presented with a choice, pick the red pill. Look through the matrix wall. School life is built by you, by what you say, by how you treat others. You are the architect of this place we call home. Guard it well.